everyone, welcome to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. For today's video, we are going to be talking about my fall wrap-up. So this is my version of my favorite plants that I have been enjoying this last season. So in summer, I did a good and a bad version of this. Today, we're going to try to keep it light and positive. So we're only going to talk about the plants that I have been loving and that have been doing well or made a comeback or something like that. So the majority of these plants are going to be hoya. I think I have 16 plants if I counted right to show you, and 11 of those are hoya. The other 5 are anthurium, which if you've seen any of my videos will not come to you as a shock because my 2 favorite genera are hoya and anthurium. We're just going to jump right into the video. We're going to start with anthurium first since I pulled them out of their humidity boxes and I kind of want to pop them back in. During fall is the time where I really started to utilize and buy more of humidity boxes, and I know this is like a no-brainer, like high humidity for anthurium. However, I just was always a ambient humidity gal, and this last half of the year I kind of slowly made a come around, especially for anthurium seedlings, having them in higher humidity. I have a couple that made a great comeback that were not doing well in ambient humidity, and I transferred them to a prop box, and within a couple months they were putting out new leaves, and the leaves were looking much healthier, and the growth rate was also a lot quicker. So let me show you the 2 plants that I'm talking about. So these 2 came from the same person on the anthurium group on Facebook. The first one I want to show you is the kuna crossed with carla, and I really love this plant in particular because the emergents are like a deep bronzy color. Sorry, these are kind of wet and dripping all over me, but yeah, the emergents are like such a nice bronzy color, and kunas tend to have this really wide leaf shape and these 2 cute little lobes as ears. It's really nice that you can see the kuna coming out so early in the seedling. I think this is only maybe like the 4th or the 5th leaf, I want to say, and this was the leaf previously. So it's doing really well in high humidity. It's tough to tell the root situation because the substrate is quite wet and there's also some algae in there, but you can also see healthy roots peeking down at the bottom. Overall, this one's been doing really well. The other seedling that I got in the same purchase was this. So this is an Anthurium ace of spades, and this was crossed with a carla as well. And this seedling is showing really strong characteristics, very young, and every leaf so far has been a pretty good size jump. You can kind of see some of the older leaves right there. This plant is dripping all over me. This one finally popped out. Very obvious carla veination going on. When this emergent was coming out, it really was catching my eye because of just how deep it was. It was like such a deep maroon purpley color, super beautiful. So I'm really glad that the color, the veination is showing with the carla, since carlas are known to be quite dark, and I just kind of can't wait to see where this seedling goes and what the next one will look like. Also, because it's in high humidity, has a new root growing down into the substrate. These 2 seedlings have been doing really well in high humidity. The next 2 seedlings that I want to show you also made a great comeback. This one that I want to show you is, I believe it's from Understory Oasis, the anthurium. It's an ace kuna, a dark ace kuna clone crossed with a carla that he calls his PM1. This plant wasn't doing nothing for the longest time, and finally I decided to take it out of its original substrate and pop it into moss, and that is another new thing that I've been doing, is I've been actually kind of using moss as a rehab medium this last fall, and I've been seeing such great success with it. So these were the 2 previous leaves on it, and this one is starting to yellow and go, and it finally popped this leaf here, and I just love the veination on it. It is so pretty. It's one of those like starburst carla patterns. I think it's coming through with the carla for sure. I just love the veins so much. Like starburst veins are my favorite. Also, the emergent color is like a deep bronzy brown, which is very nice, but also very excitingly, it's started to grow a ton of new roots. So that's a really nice, good, healthy root here. And then there's also one escaping down at the bottom. And I've only had it in moss for maybe give or take 3 to 4 weeks now, so the fact that it's making such a great comeback so quickly makes me very, very happy, and that's why I had to include it. So the other anthurium that's also done exactly as well as this one is the next one that I want to show you. The last two anthurium on this list are both from granthuriums. This is an FTG self crossed with a dorito port. And these were the two original leaves on them, looking a little beat up. Same story with the last one, was kind of stalled out, not doing much, repotted it to moss, and we do have new roots also forming, so love to see that. It finally popped a new leaf, like within maybe a week or so of being in moss, and you can kind of start to see the flatter, wider sinus happening. And this is kind of what the two parent plants are known for, like a very, like more so of like a very wide sinus. I love the veins because the FTG is kind of like known for those veins as well. So the other two leaves, although you can't tell now so much, were also pretty flat in their sinus. The flat sinus gene seems to be carrying through, which is great. Again, can't wait to see what the newer leaves are going to be doing, but I'm just really glad that I have this one starting to grow well again. That's that anthurium. The last anthurium that I want to show you has always been doing well, but there's a new leaf coming out and it's finally starting to show more characteristics, and I really want to show it to you guys. So this is a pure antolakii or bvep. The exact parent names are the round felix crossed with a dark star, which I believe are just bveps or antolakii plants that people have that they named. To be honest, it's really hard to keep track of anthurium parentage because a lot of people are choosing to name their plants, and it's getting a little confusing, but just for all intents and purposes, it's a pure bvep or a pure antolakii, and this is the emergent. I think this color is super unique. It's like a bronzy peach. I don't have a lot of plants that kind of do like a peachy undertone. Emergent, which is super nice. This was the last leaf that it gave me, so you can also see the pillowiness and the texture coming through, and also that sheen is very, very nice, on brand for a bvep. And the size, it did kind of take a little bit of a size decrease between these two. This was when I decided to put it into a humidity box, and now we have this really nice emergent, and very much also on brand with a bvep. It has those like starburst veins going through the center and down it. Hopefully you can also see it in the back as well. Yeah, just thought this was a very, very stunning emergent, and this plant's overall been doing very well. Pretty easygoing when it comes to anthurium anyway. We are swiftly going to be moving on to hoya because I have quite a bit of hoyas to show you. The first one you probably have seen me repot. I don't even know how many months it's been now, but it's been growing super duper consistently, and that's honestly why I love hoya. It really seems like no matter what the season is, if you water them, which sometimes I don't water them adequately, but they can take underwatering and they can still grow like champs, and this is a great example of it because I have underwatered this plant a very, very many times. This is my Hoya AH003. I think there's 2 zeros in there. I'm gonna have to double check with that. I love the really unique veins. I can't really think of any other Hoya off the top of my head that have this specific veination pattern or anything that's comparable to it, to be honest. So that's why even when I do like my collection purge down the road, this is definitely going to be a keeper. And I have a lot of Hoyas that have veins, but this one is very, very unique with that. And it definitely got hit with like mealybugs earlier in the year, as with a lot of my Hoya, and since I've treated it, they haven't come back, and all of the leaves have been very, very lovely. This is definitely more more of like a harder to get your hands on Hoya. I don't see it being sold very often, but if you do happen to see it, I would highly recommend you to pick it up because it's just such a unique beauty and just a welcome addition to any collection. If you've happened to seen any of my videos in the last couple of months, then this Hoya will come as no surprise to you. I feel like I've featured it in at least 2 videos so far, and I still can't get over it, so I'm just gonna breeze through this one quite quickly. This is the Hoya Wilbur Graves, and the version that I got was the Thialand. I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit underwatered right now, so if the leaves look a bit dry, I just watered it, so have no fear, it'll bounce back. Really, I don't have to say it because I feel like I've been saying it so much. This is the most consistently very high splash Hoya I have, and it's very, very hard to get your hands on a Wilbur Graves that is consistently splashy. It's growing this long tendril. It's super duper long, and these are some of the newest leaves. It's working on 4 new leaves at the same time, so this is one pretty much almost all silver, and then these 2 up here have a little bit more green on it. I think one of them is a little bit of like a half green, half silver leaf, but I think that's what kind of gives it such a appealing quality to look at, because there are these like splashes of green intermingled with the silver. Because if it were to be 100% all silver, it would look, I think in my opinion, not as cool. I won't ramble on about this one too much, but has definitely been a top favorite of mine. The next Hoya I want to show you is a Hoya burtoniae, and this one has been a very good bloomer. Literally, I think this is my best blooming Hoya of all of 2024. It just has been nonstop. There's been so many dead flowers underneath this Hoya that it's been a little bit annoying to keep up with cleaning, but like a good annoying. And I can't even tell you how many blooms are popping off right now. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I can see that are larger, but honestly, there's so many on here. So these are what the blooms look like. They're super duper cute, really small. These are looking extra juicy. I don't know if you can see the sap kind of hanging off of these, and I stand corrected. I think I showed the blooms a while back, and I said that the blooms had like not a great odor to them, but I stand corrected. I got it confused with something else. They smell like a caramel kind of candy flavor to me is what I'm getting. So when it comes to Hoya blooms, I don't think it's like the ones that you really need to worry about. The blooms are super cute, and yeah, this whole plant has just been growing so steadily. It's a very common Hoya, so a lot of you will probably have this in your collection, or if you don't, you will have a very easy time to find it. Very common, probably an oldie, but definitely a goodie. Next Hoya, we have one that I got probably in the summer, I want to say, and it's been very steady grower. This is the polyneura inner-variegated, and it's grown, I forgot how short the vine was when you guys last saw it. I want to say it was maybe up to here, but it's since grown all of these new leaves. It's just been so pretty. This Hoya was definitely super pricey in the beginning of the year, but now that we're coming towards the end of 2024, you can get a cutting of this, like a 1 node 2 leaf cutting for let me think about when I've been seeing it go for, maybe like $40. It could even be less. They're getting to be much more affordable, so if you like this Hoya, now is pretty much a good time to get it. But I knew this was a type of Hoya that was gonna come down in value quickly over time because of how well polyneuras generally grow. For me, sometimes they do have like a weird dormancy period where they just stop growing for a bit, but then they'll continue to. This one hasn't had that dormancy period yet. I've just been really enjoying, there goes some substrate. I've just really been enjoying staring at this one because it's so pretty. I can't get over how pretty the leaves are. I don't always think the variegated versions are always the best versions of Hoya. However, with the polyneura, I think I'm just partial to say like this is probably the best one, at least in appearance, in my mind anyway. The next one I want to show you is one that has popped up quite a bit on my channel. Much easier to take care of than the OG type. So this is the meredithii round leaf. I got this one at UPT and it's been growing really well. I definitely have to retrellis it because it's doing weird things at the moment. But I remember at some point on this channel, I potted up 2 cuttings into this pot, and even though it has been underwater, there have definitely been some baby leaves that have dried off because of the underwatering. Considering how I've mistreated it, it's actually growing pretty well, and it's very interesting to see leaves in highlight versus low light, especially on this plant. So all of the taller leaves were grown in a little bit of lower light. These were grown with, I think, T5 Burina grow lights. And then the ones down below here were grown with T8. It's kind of tough to tell which one I like better. I almost want to say the higher light ones are quite nice, but you do have to strike, like, I think a balance with this plant, because if you overexpose it to light, I just feel like it can kind of start to look a little bit bleached. So I think this color is like a really nice happy medium where you can see veins coming through, because it's a little bit harder to see on the darker leaves. In terms of roots, roots are doing pretty good. It's pretty well rooted in there, and definitely need to retrellis it, but thought I would mention this one as well. Okay, I'm excited to talk about this one. This one was in my Halloween repot, and I took it out of the cocoa husk and into my tree fern pond mix. And so this one that I'm talking about is a latifolia. It's the textured veins, or the UPT009. It's been transitioning super duper well. You can see the new roots that it's growing in the substrate, which is quite nice. And these were the 2 original propagation leaves, and it has since grown 3 new leaves since that video, and they just look so unique. I at first thought it looked a lot like, trying to think what, because I own this Hoya too. I'm gonna have to look back and post the name of which Hoya I'm thinking about, but I thought that both of them looked a lot alike. But now that I'm looking at the new leaves, it looks, at least to my eye, very different. The veination through it is super special, and I love, obviously, the texture as it was named after. I also love the color that these leaves come in. It's like such a really deep purpley red color. It's just been such a joy to watch it grow. This is the tendril that it is working on. Yeah, I honestly can't wait to have a much fuller plant of this. I think it's gonna look super duper nice. Same thing with the last Hoya. These are just a lot tinier in size because I have it like right next to a T8, and these big leaves were probably grown in a little bit of a lower light. So that's just why you're seeing the size difference between my growth and then the growth for the original leaves. Really cool. Next plant I want to show you is another veiny Hoya. This one desperately needs to be retrellised, so I'm sure you'll see it again in no time. This is the SP Sabah. I think the specific name of this is the RP013. It grew this absolutely long tendril, which is why I say it needs to be desperately trellised, because it's just like this long tendril, and I think most of it has died off, but there are still some growth points coming off of it. Like, this is a new baby leaf over here, and this is the newest leaf, and these leaves just get so massive. I'm always so surprised at how big these leaves are, because they're huge. Like, they are the size of my palm pretty much. The veination really can't be beat. This is such a pretty Hoya. I will say that everyone needs one of these in their collection, especially if you like Hoya that have veins. It's like a no-brainer in my mind. Some of them did get a little bit singed by the grow light. However, overall, such an easy Hoya, and I don't say that lightly, because some Hoya that look like this, i.e. the meredithii, it kind of looks a lot like this one. way more of a diva, much harder to grow. This one has been really easy, super happy. I have it in a mainly tree fern mix. There is a little bit of pumice and stuff in it, but this Hoya does not seem to mind it at all, so we have good rootage. And yeah, I actually also recently saw a peduncle somewhere on this plant. Now that I'm saying it, I don't know if I can find it, but I did see a peduncle on there. Regardless, I didn't really get it for the blooms. I obviously got it for the foliage. So yeah, this one's a little bit crazy looking right now. Still a favorite. This next Hoya has been a struggle bus Hoya for quite some time, so I'm kind of glad now that it seems to have been turning a corner and it has been doing well these last couple of months. The Hoya that I want to show you is a Hoya bella. The specific one is the inner-variegated, or the lida buis. I think that is how you say that. It's finally started growing, which is nice. You can see at the end of these vines there are a lot of new growth points. A lot of these bottom leaves are new, but maybe you can tell some of the top leaves look like they were attacked by pests, and that is because this Hoya was like spider mite central for the longest time, and they just kept coming back. Like every time I kept treating them, they kept coming back. And as I'm looking at it, I don't see any, because you could really see like the webs, and it was just not a good time at all. So the growth pattern looks a little bit funky because it is like split in two. So as it grows in fuller, hopefully it will look a little bit less weird. Such a pretty Hoya. Again, the variegated kind I think might be my favorite version of the Hoya bella, but I will say that in my experience anyway, Hoya bellas are a little bit more pest prone, so you do have to keep that in mind. But if you have the pests under control, then they're pretty good growers. Inner-variegated Hoya bella. When I originally hauled this plant, I said that amongst all of, like, I think I bought like 40 Hoyas in one go. I was a little bit unhinged earlier this year. I said that of all my new Hoyas, this one was my favorite. So this is the Hoya mitrata silver, or buntock silver, or I think it's called mitrata now, if I'm correct. You haven't seen this one in a while because it was just hidden away in a prop box. Much like my anthurium, I have also been putting Hoya in prop boxes, and after I did that, it finally started to actually produce leaves, because the problem I had with this Hoya is a lot of the new leaves would just fall off if it even got a little bit underwatered. So unlike what you hear about with a lot of Hoyas that can take underwatering, in my experience, and I don't know if this is just the specific clone I have, it's very sensitive to underwatering. Keeping that in mind, the prop box has helped. It's also sprouted a new growth point, and this one is pretty much almost all silver. You can barely see any splashes on it, which is nice, but I think my favorite leaves are the ones that are just like marbled, and they just look so, so cool. And if you don't really know that much about this Hoya, another really super beautiful quality of it is the undersides of the leaves often have this like really deep purple pattern on them. Some of it is more apparent, like this one, and then others it's more spread out through the back of the leaf. But I think for that reason, this is why it's such a unique Hoya, and they have steadily been going down in price, but I would still say like they are quite expensive. I think a 1 node 2 leaf cutting is still costing like around $90 to $100 at the time that I'm making this video. I don't know if it'll go down in price because this one hasn't been exactly super easy. I just really love to look at it. It is what it is. I don't mind putting in a little bit more work for it. You can totally tell it's been in a prop box because look at those long aerial roots. Very typical of Hoya that have been in high humidity. And yeah, there's a little bit of roots happening down at the bottom as well. So Hoya mitrata has been a little tricky, but now it's been doing well, and one of my favorites for sure. So we are coming to the last plant I want to show you in my fall wrap-up video. This has also been a newer plant to me. I got this around the same time I bought a bunch of hoya over the summer. This is the clemensiorum, and this specific one is from northern Sumatra. I got it from UPT. This clone of the clemensiorum, because there's so many clones of that specific hoya, it seems like they look very, very different depending on which clone you have. This one has more so the veination that I really like, because some of the clemensiorum clones are very, very dark and you can't really see the veination quite as much. However, it also has edges are very like sharp and textured and wavy, which I love. It's just like a very long leaf blade and comes to like a sharp point. And the texture is really nice. It's velvety. You can like feel all of the ridges on it. It's super beautiful, and I kind of fell a little bit more in love with this hoya recently because the top two leaves that were closer to the grow light started to sunstress. It used to be a little bit more sunstressed than it is now, but it started to turn like a really bright red color. You can still kind of see it at the top of the leaf here. Really, really pretty hoya. I did underwater it, so the main tendril died. It's been doing pretty well in the transition. I think I repotted it, I want to say, in the Halloween video I did this year, and you can just see I didn't do like a super great job cleaning off all of the medium off of the roots, but you can see hopefully there are new roots growing, and it seems to be doing pretty good, seems to be overall happy, and it's slowly starting to fill out this trellis, which is nice because it wasn't like a huge plant to begin with. So I think it's grown like maybe like 4 or 5 leaves since I got it. So last plant to show you is the Hoya clemensiorum. Honestly, even as I look around my plant room, there's so many more Hoya that are actually growing pretty well for me right now. However, if I were to talk about all of the Hoyas that are doing pretty good, it would be a very long video, so I think I'm just gonna cut it off right here. So this video is gonna be uploaded the week before Christmas, so I have one more video that's going to be uploaded literally on Christmas Day. It is going to showcase some Hoya on it, so I know those of you that love Hoya should be happy about that. I am going to do kind of like what I did on Halloween, which is more of like a very seasonal questions tag. We're going to be talking about all the good things that comes with Christmas. Hopefully you guys will tune in for that and enjoy that. Sorry to all of you that personally don't celebrate Christmas. I totally get that. Either way, hopefully that will appeal to most of you. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.